much for that, Roger. That was there's a lot of ground covered there and a lot of very interesting thoughts. I'm particularly taken by your comment about the fact that we moved from being essentially commodity producers to very specialised product producers with, as you say, brand names and that transition. I wonder whether we understand that as well as we should. And I guess the two issues arise out of that. One is the notion of whether a national brand makes any difference to the value of your brand. Is Australia any benefit in terms of the reputation at a national level to Fletcher brand? I suppose the second one is, and you know I'll ask you this in the sheep industry, the traceability issue. Do we need tags or not?
Well, I'll go to the first one. So what we do is we have Australia brand. Of course, everyone knows every carton they get off me. It's got Australia on it. It's got a map of Australia. Everyone uses a map of Australia. Why do we want a socialist system? Absolute waste of time. So what you're doing is dragging it back to a commodity. And that's crazy. Let's go back to an interesting thing that we come into the wheat industry. Well, the only reason I come into the wheat industry, I want to fill my trains. And so we build silos and things. One of the interesting things we now find, being a container customer, you know, that we do a smaller customer, we can give specific commodities to consumers in Asia, where if you push it all the wheat together, it's a commodity, it's worth $200 a tonne, that's it. You know, we can say, no, we're going to pick better protein, we might be using pinch grain, but we've got a place for that, I can handle that. As soon as it's a commodity, the lowest price is hit. So the brand is the most important thing that we got. And I've got to say, when I started my brand, 1970 something, a bloke come to me and he said, look, you can buy this brand. He said, look, you'll have to buy a brand to start packing meat, otherwise you won't be recognised. I said, oh yeah, how much does it cost for the brand? And he said, oh look, I think I can get you a couple of brands for about $10,000. And I had a problem. I didn't have $10,000. And my daughter was going to boarding school, and so I said to her and the kids, I said, a box of chocolate can make the best brand. Still got the same brand today, she got a box of chocolate. and I say it's our best asset. And I think that one of the things that, I know I shouldn't be saying this, but the proudest thing when you go around the world and you walk into a bloody big, and I was in a restaurant in Taiwan and it was just packed, and there was all their meat there, and the bloke comes up and says, here's the person who produces it. And you know, I've seen that around the world. Put your own name on the box, you put your life on it, and it's a great asset. On the tagging, look, we were probably the first one that pushed for getting vendor decks, and let me go into what that is. We see that it was an important thing. We had a lot of enemies when we pushed to it, and it's a pretty simple thing. I think the tags what we use today is sufficient. Why are we, you know, to go down the other path? It's not the cost of the tags, it's the cost of managing it all the way through the sale yards, through all that. Are we getting value for money? And that's the question we've got to ask. And I was on the Quarantine Advisory Council for 5 years, so I do know a little bit what I'm talking about when we talk risk. What is the risk, and why are we got to put the tags on the sheep like with RFIDs? Because if you had a breakout and it happened, say, at Dubbo sale yards, a mob from there, I'd race over to the sale yards. Within 20 minutes, 2 people on the phone, we could block the whole lot up. I'll tell you how easy it is. What it be? 20 meat companies, you get the phone ringing with 20 meat companies. Stop the lot. How many farmers bought sheep? It's probably another 20. You'd hit them with that. The computer in Sydney won't do it any quicker. Tell me I'm wrong. I think that you could do that. There is some advantages with RFIDs. If we can do them cheap enough and can get there, and our meeting has always said we're not against it, but it's got to be cost neutral and do some advantages.
Who else has got a question? Frank?
Roger, how old are you and what's your succession plan for your business? You can answer both of them separately.
I wish you didn't ask the bloody question. Look, I'll be honest. I got 3 children. They're all in the business. And to be honest with you, I had a bloke there today helping me trying to hustle them together, and where I can sort of stand back a little bit and run the business. And so we're doing a little bit of work. I'm bloody hopeless at it. Be one of my weakest spots. Unfortunately, when I left home as a kid, I made all my own decisions, and geez, it's hard to give it away.
First question.
How old am I? 25. Now look, how old are you? It's what energy. I don't think I'll ever retire because I think I'll die in a day. And I'm 70.
And the kids coming through?
Yeah, they are. They've all got different natures, and that's a challenge. Look, and that's no different to all our kids. We're only going to be as good as we train them. Unfortunately, and I don't think they should have come up the way I did, because it was pretty tough already. And you do spoil them in a bit. I think the biggest thing you must do is make them make decisions. Don't let them come to you and say, what do I do next? And I do it with all my young managers and things. No, you're there, you tell me what you do. Even if it's, I change it, but I try and make them think. And I think that's one of the biggest problems you got. You know, one of the biggest problems we got today? Well, the best thing ever happened to me in my life, I left home, no phones, no mum and dad to come crying on the thing. And when something went wrong, you'd sit down and say, how am I going to fix it? And I reckon the best university you could ever go to was the drovers camp in those days. Because you could turn around and say, you had to be a vet when the animals got cooked. You were a cook and you got to cook feed out of whatever it is. You were a solicitor, because you had to argue with the farmers to go through their places. You're a doctor when one of the people got sick. You're a motor mechanic, the truck broke down, there's no one there, you'd sit out, you'd get out of it. Or if the truck got bogged, you'd find a way to get out of it. Today, people got it too easy. They can't even buy a loaf of bread. And I think that's probably the challenge we've got. And that's the challenge with these Indigenous kids. And, you know, how come, and we're in this room, we've got our bloody backpackers, and yet our own people are sitting at home. Come on. And it's tragic to see them, to get it out. And I would say my daughter's an exception at taking kids on and helping them. She's an exception. You know, my wife's very passionate about it. My wife's Aboriginal. I was very lucky I met her on the telephone exchange. That was my first office.
Yeah, Roger, Jeff Lucas, on one of those businesses you don't like, which is a labour employment business. What proportion of your staff are on 457 visas? No.
We,
How did you manage to achieve that, as a lot of the other processing businesses?
because they're bloody lazy.
Thank you.
No, I'll be honest about it. I was the one who couldn't afford I brought 200 Filipinos in to Albany, and they are, I got it proudly to say, and I'm not too sure how many years ago, 12 years ago now, they are now assimilated, they are the heart of the plant. Their kids, you know, then they come over, they're all citizens and residents. I'm absolutely proud of them. They are Albany people, and they work well.
So looking back, how would you have engaged the local community at that time?
Oh, we went to 2 shifts and we were really pushing. We had a problem in Albany. They didn't want us there. It was a unique place. They didn't want labour. And, you know, and it's a great town and people are very good today. And today in Albany, I don't think we've got hardly a backpacker there, or a 457. We won't sign the labour agreement. I fought that one, and I can proudly say, how did the backpackers come to the bush? Does anyone know how that happened? There was 2 people instigated that, and that was the intervention and myself. Because I was with her and I said, oh, I don't have a problem with me bloody good workers, but I said, I got labour, I followed labour, I've got to throw the meat out. And I said, there's all these rotten backpackers, they're sitting in the cities. And she said, oh, we've got to come back a week later. And then they sat down, we worked out, we give them an extra year's visa. She said, oh, we've got no money from the government. And that changed it. And she get the credit for it. And no one knows that. That's how it happened. And I'm proud of it. And we got a lot of backpackers, but, and look, the Koreans and the Taiwanese are great workers, and some from Hong Kong. The Europeans, unfortunately, don't want to stay long enough. They're good people. But we do ours all word of mouth, and they just turn up. We pay them right, we don't have an argument. And now I've got a real issue. We would, you know, we've had a lot over the years. We drug test everyone on the way in. Everyone, even the locals know we drug test everyone, but at least 2 out of every 5 would be on drugs, locals. How many backpackers did we ever test for drugs? Not one. And I said to the Germans and the Dutch, what do you think of that? And they said to me, how bloody silly questions that is. We're saving money, we want to travel around Australia and have a look, we haven't got money for drugs. So that's an interesting one. Have you found that?
Yeah. But it's also infiltrated through into our local workforce. If you do a pre-employment medical, don't be surprised if, say, 2 in 5 or 3 in 5 test positive for methamphetamine.
Yeah. Well, we've had that issue. And this is what the sad part about this Indigenous problem and the lower ones not getting jobs. 1, they're physically not fit enough to work for us. 2, they test positive to drugs. 3rd, they won't come to work. And the 4th one, they got a criminal record and we got knives. How do we fix it? I say it's a huge cost on the nation. And here we are, you know, in New South Wales with like 2.6 billion we're going to spend on jails over the next year or so. That's chicken feed. What about when we build it, we've got to maintain the bastards? Big problem.
How are we going? Questions? Let us know.
Roger, you're bullish about that. How do you see it going internationally? Do you see that the sheep meat market continue to grow?
Well, let's go through some figures. Today, I always seen the land industry in a mess over the, you know, going back a few years, where 85% of the land was domestically eaten. As soon as we had a heat wave, everyone wants to sell the land, no one wants to eat it. Bust. Today, we're under 50% domestic, and the rest is export. We're, from when I started, we're in so many different countries. We cut them up so many bits that we've got markets for. The weak spots we got is, if one piece of the animal we're not finding a home for, we can get into strife. But that's why we've spread ourselves that far that we don't do it. We don't sell a commodity, and I've got to say the only commodity that we sell is 6-1 cut mutton, and that was my fault because we were the bloody inventors of it, and we don't do it anymore because it's too easy, it's too cheap, and no one makes any money. But the lamb, we've got so many pieces that we do. If you look at the weakness, I'm worried about the sheepskin business. The rest of it, I think we've got so much going on. The other part is, the Muslim population around the world is so big, that gives us a lot of strength. And China has probably been a hidden one. Not so much if you look at the statistics of money, but they've taken the products no one else wanted. The breasts and flaps, the necks, the shanks, the bones, the fat. And that's a big change. This is where the free trade agreements come in. And I mean, with free trade agreements, we've got to look at the benefit of what we get, because if we don't have that, we import cement from China and slag, and we bring fertiliser in from China. And so there's a two-way street. And I think governments can work hard on it. We can improve. We want to get a free trade agreement in Taiwan. New Zealand's got a 0 tariff. We've got 9%. It's not a bad. They just like putting little handicaps on us. In the Middle East, we pay 5% tariff. I think we can get that off with energetic government. With Brexit, if the quota thing can change there, we'll be in a better position. And as I said, the only opposition we've got with lamb is New Zealand. And the beauty with us with lamb, we're 12 months of the year. And this is where I'm saying focus around drought aid, get rid of the bloody drought aid. People can top their lambs off and their beef off in the off-season and get the higher prices. Keeps the abattoirs flat, keeps the workers in jobs, keeps the towns going, and stops the coffee switching.
Ross? Take 2 more, Ross, and then Jim.
Yeah, Ross Kingwell, thanks for your talk, Roger. Really enjoyed it. I think with you in that I'm very optimistic about the future of sheep in Australia. In my home state of West Australia, over the last few years I've been saying to grain farmers, can you tell me what the Black Sea equivalent is for the sheep industry? And as you rightly observed, it used to be New Zealand and less so. And so when you look at our competitors internationally, there aren't very many for sheep.
Yeah.
And in Australia, we're running ewe-dominant flocks, so we're not going to build the sheep population up really quickly because we're already running these ewe-dominant flocks. And cropping is already so dominant. There's a lot of parts of farms where there's fields and paddocks that aren't making much profit from crops. So I think at the margin, there's real opportunity for farmers to make a bit more money by getting back into sheep.
Yeah, look, there's a few things. I mean, there's no doubt we run one large farm of wheat sheep business, and we run a lot of sheep on it because if the crops sort of fail, we run extras, and it works well with that basis. Yeah, there is a problem, and it is probably one that we should discuss here on the wheat and the beef industry. There's 2 things happening around the world right now. 3. Is one, India has got a huge amount of beef. Might be rubbish, but it still serves as beef, and it's getting around the world. The other one is Brazil and Argentina. Argentina had a chaotic government where they tax people if they sold beef. That's opened up and that's going to change. Brazil, the currency is as weak as water, and that's going to put beef around the world. And virtually it's snubbed us out of the Middle East already. There's no Australian beef there. China, the beef exports out of Australia has dropped dramatically because Brazil's cheaper, and that's a problem. With the wheat one, you are quite right. When you think about it properly, and you look at the Black Sea country, some of the fields there are magnificent country, but they were too silly to be able to do it. They didn't have the right tractors, but now there's money around the world. People are pushing in. A lot of money coming from these other countries going into these places, same as West Africa. And unfortunately, wheat is a funny crop. It's grown on marginal country all around the world. And, you know, if you fluke a couple of crops in one of those countries, it's hard to do. On the other hand, we've got to use more wheat. I think there's got to be more wheat used for stock production. You know, you've got a place like Bangladesh, consumption of wheat for the people has gone up 5 or 6% a year because it's cheaper than rice. They put a tariff on rice and it's made wheat cheap. You can buy bloody scones and things up there for a bloody one tacker each, which is about 1.5 cents. And so there's a change there. With sheep, it's a little bit harder to compete because everyone's too lazy to grow sheep. I think the biggest thing with the sheep industry to grow is working out what better ways to manage them. You know, better yards, better handling. Thank God we've got a click, and we're breeding sheep that's a lot better to manage. I mean, we've got farms now that we can run one person to I think 13 or 14,000. So it's changing, and you know, I think that's an issue. And Argentina will grow bloody wheat like hell now because of the way the government's changed.
So, Jim is the last.
Okay. Thanks, Roger, for an entertaining and thought-provoking talk. I was intrigued by, well, not intrigued, but impressed by your attitude towards the workforce and your concerns about, you know, the labour issue generally. I think back to many moons ago now, where the government at the time required companies to invest in their workforce. They imposed an education levy to encourage companies to train their workforce and so on. Now that's all gone by the wayside at this stage. The interesting thing is that in agriculture we're seeing an interesting change, which is that a lot of companies are opening up internships for students at universities and other places to get experience in their companies, and perhaps because of the shortage of workforce, educated workforce in agriculture, this is a way of companies targeting and perhaps eventually employing people that, you know, they've tested. So my question is, to follow on from your discussion, what ought to be the obligation on employers in terms of developing their workforce?
Yeah, look, I think it's an interesting subject because there's a couple of issues that gets up my claw. Is we go and train kids in great, you know, into great jobs. A company comes along and says, "Oh, geez, he's a good man. He's got 100,000 more than Roger." They take my brains off, and away they go. And I won't tell you how much they pay one bloke. Take from me. That's the sad part about it. I think there's a great opportunity with all these kids at school and everywhere, and they join them together. When you're at university, you work for us too. You know, university, Germany does a great job. Instead of having a 3-year course, it's a 6-year course, and you're part-time in the business, growing with the business, and a part-time doing it. And virtually, if I had a girl on a plane one day was telling me she'd come from Asia and she was studying, and she worked out the study wasn't much good to her, and she said, you know, you can study a book and read a book about cooking, but if you've never cooked, you can't cook. You can read as many books as you like. You read books on riding a bike, but if you've never rode a bike, you can't ride a bike. You've got to do the practical. And I see that it's retaining those people. And that's probably one of the problems we got in my company, probably. If I slow down and the company's not growing, those real good people get restless because you train them to be active and go forward, and you lose them. And I'm 70 and what do I say now? But it's an issue. It is a challenge, and I think that's it. But it's the kids at risk of making something out of them, and we can. But and there's probably another issue with that. I think it's hard for parents to mentor the kids. It's easier for outsider, you know, the bloke next door or the uncle or the person they're working for to mentor them. I was very lucky. I was mentored by 4 or 5 different people in my life, and I wouldn't be here today, and they probably didn't even know they were mentors. Just that little tap on the shoulder, a little bit of help was there, and I could never thank them enough and pay them back by helping someone else.